One of the key differences between Judaism and most every other religion is the idea that Judaism embeds itself into every single element and aspect of our lives. Yiddishkeit is not just some, relegated to one day of the week or in a specific place. Yiddishkeit literally has something to say on every element and aspect of our life, something which incorporates itself to become one with our lives. Mimer, just for those who are looking, there's a beautiful Pada B'Shalom Mimer from the Rebbe Rashab. They have an English version. The name of it is All for the Sake of Heaven, which goes to really illustrate the idea that there's how every single point of our life, every single action of our life, all have to be geared and directed towards heaven. All have to be done l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. Now, we have, of course, a plethora of beautiful and wonderful stories in the Torah. The Torah goes on and on, between the 5 books of Moses, the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, and of course all of the Nevi'im, the prophets, and with Ksuvim. We have a plethora and a wealth of knowledge of many, many stories. But as the way is with the world, it's very easy to disconnect them, though. To look at them and say, oh yeah, ancient stories from the past, very nice. I'm busy with my phone, I'm busy with my computer, I'm busy with the 21st century. I don't need this relic from the past. And to this, the Rebbe would answer, Ki ha'toiras emes u'toiras chayim. It's a truthful Torah and a living Torah, and it lives with us, and it lives today. And Torah does not become less relevant with time, it becomes more relevant with time. As we see the derangement of society that comes without Torah. Which, to be fair, you don't mind me making my own social commentary, it's a wonderful thing that society is finally shedding the yoke of all the false gods and all the strife which we're seeing today, all the culture wars and everything. It's hunger for the truth. It's us looking and seeking and trying to find the truth. And at the end, the truth always prevails. Now, we have a story of Moav. Moav was a nation. The very conception of the nation happened in a very problematic way to begin with. And this nation saw the Jews were coming out of Egypt and making their way to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. And they went in and interfered with that journey. They went in and tried to stop the Jews, tried to fight the Jews. And for no reason at all. The Jews weren't passing through their lands, the Jews weren't threatening them. They had no business coming to fight with the Jews. And yet they still came. They still came to cause problems, still came to cause strife. And were commanded to fight them and destroy them. And it speaks about the nature of it, the nature of the nation. That they went to just, they caused strife for the sake of strife. That was it. Now, this story isn't just, again, it's not a story from ancient long ago. This is a story for each of us in our own lives. A lot of times in our life, we have a person that comes and causes strife and drama just for the sake of strife. That's it, only. That's why. It's kind of funny the way literature doesn't change much. They say there's nothing new under the sun. This is a very old saying, which we find in the Torah as well. It speaks about in one of the Nevi'im that somebody had something stolen from him, and the expression used is he was cleaned out. We still use that today. When somebody got robbed, we say, hey, they cleaned him out, they stole everything. So let's discuss the name Moav a little bit, and you'll see where this is relevant. Moav literally means from the father. And the conception of this nation happened in a very illicit way. A forbidden incestual relationship that bred this nation. And it was literally named after that. Moav, Mo or Me means from, Av means the father, from the father. And this nation is the one specifically attributing to causing a lot of strife. In our literature, in our lingo today, the way we talk is daddy issues. Somebody who's always causing drama and problems and, constantly causing strife. We say, oh, they have daddy issues. So stuck around for a long, long time. Now, what lessons does Torah have to teach us about this? Everything in Torah is purposeful and meaningful, and there's dimensions to it. It's not just a random happenstance. So when the Torah teaches us a story about our nation, it's also a story about ourselves and our own individual lives. And when Torah teaches us about, this type of personality that causes strife, Torah is also teaching us about where that strife comes from. And this concept, what's it trying to portray is when somebody comes to you and causes you strife and causes you problems and causes you issues, you have to understand those issues, those problems, that strife, it's all Moav. It's all from the Father. It's all from the environment which they grew up in. It's not their fault. It's not who they are. But when you're dragged into the world in the worst of circumstances, and you're abused as a child in God knows how many ways, then yes, unfortunately, the soul gets warped and construed as it expresses itself in its body, or in the body. But in truth, it's all Moav. You have to have compassion on the person to understand that it's not them, it's the environment which they grew up in. And this is how we're supposed to view that person that causes us strife. It doesn't mean roll over and take it. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to Torah. In fact, in the story, the Jews specifically went and fought the nation. But you have to understand and have compassion on the person who causes you strife in your life. Understand, it's not them. It's how they were brought up. It's not, and it doesn't mean that you just simply turn a blind eye to it and, don't, just say, okay, we could just leave them as is. No, you have to work on trying to get them help if you can, if you're shaykh to, if you're able to, work towards, pointing out their flaws to them in a kind and loving way and helping them get better. Or if you can't, then to cut them off and, give yourself distance if it's unhealthy and you won't be able to make a difference anyway. But this is how you have to view it. Now, in Torah, we always have how we view others and how we view ourselves. It's a very, very core element and principle in Torah. For instance, a very beautiful story to illustrate this point. I'll give you actually the idea first, then I'll tell you the story. The way you view others is with love and compassion, and you never ever say that, to the other that, oh yeah, they deserve it, they had it coming, oh good for them that they're suffering. You never do. You always sit there and you complain and you fight and you express love and you express care and you fight even with Hashem when you see your friend suffering. We see this from Avram Avinu when Sodom and Amorah were going to be destroyed, the most evil nation of them all, literally the worst of the worst of the worst of the world. And Avram Avinu is going there fighting with Hashem, tooth and nail, hours back and forth with Hashem. No, don't destroy them. Who's he trying to? Bunch of sinners, bunch of evil, horrid people. And yet Avram Avinu is still trying to, Avram Avinu still had compassion on them. And this is the way we have to have on every single person. Obviously, in a healthy way, in a way which, we're not compromising ourselves, it's not becoming toxic for us. Of course. But yet, that's our job, that's our mission. When we look at others, the way our perception of others has to be in a loving, caring way. Like I said, you see somebody has a problem, understand it's Moav, it's from the Father. But when we look at ourselves, when we look at our own strife and our own problems and our own issues, there we have to see ourselves in the light. We have to see where we went wrong, where our mistake happens, what we did incorrectly, and how we can improve that. In fact, that's the whole point of the strife in the first place. And that has to be our vision. We never ever become victims. We never ever say, oh, this just happened to me because it happened to me randomly. No. You have to always see our hand in the issues which we cause in our life. All the issues that come up in our life, we have to see our hand in what we cause to perhaps, to assist them, to open ourselves to them, and how we can improve our life in the future. As an example of this, we just passed Tisha B'Av not too long ago. Today is the 19th of Av. And with Tisha B'Av, it says, there's a very interesting Gemara, which says, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of a fight between Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Beitar was destroyed because of the side of a wagon. And then another city, I don't recall the name, was destroyed because of a chicken. What are these stories? What are we talking about? So there's, of course, the famous Kamsa and Bar Kamsa story, where there was a man named Kamsa. There was a man who had a friend named Bar Kamsa. And he sent an invitation to Bar Kamsa. Accidentally, the delivery boy messed up the letter. He sent it to Kamsa. Or vice versa, either way. Kamsa shows up at the party. Oh, Kamsa was a sworn enemy of this man. The two of them fought tooth and nail. Kamsa sees an invitation to this party, and Kamsa says to himself, oh, look at this. I got invited to the party. This guy wants to make up with me. He wants to make friends. Fine. So Kamsa shows up to the party, and he's sitting there. The man's walking through the aisles. He sees Kamsa. He looks at him and yells, Who invited you? What are you doing here? And he goes, what do you mean? I have a letter. And he shows I was invited. And the man says, no, this is for Bar Kamsa, not for you, Kamsa. I hate you. I hate your guts. Get the hell out of my party. And obviously, to be kicked out of a party in public, and with everybody there, and it was a very important party because there's a lot of the Rabbanim were there, a lot of the rabbis were there, and Kamsa said, "Look, please don't embarrass me like this. I'll pay for my meal, please. I'll pay for what I eat. Just don't kick me out in the front of everyone." And the guy says, "No, I hate your guts. Get out." Again, Kamsa says, look, look, I understand you don't want me here, but please set that aside for a minute. I'll pay for half the party, just let me stay. Again, the guy says, no way, get out. And the third time he tried, he said, I'll pay the entire party, every expense of the party, I'll pay every penny of it. Just please let me stay. The man said, took him by the arm, dragged him out, and said, get out of my party. And obviously Kamsa suffered a terrible embarrassment. And Kamsa ended up getting very resentful and angry. He was, of course, angry at what happened, angry at the embarrassment. He was also angry that no Rabbanim stood up, to this insult which he had. And he said to himself, I'm not just going to take revenge on this one person who made it through the party. I'm going to take revenge on all the Jews. I'm going to get them all. And he concocted an entire plan in which he went to the Caesar. He went to the Emperor of Rome, and he said, "Come, look, the Jews are rebelling." He says, "No, why? What proof do you have?" He says, "Look, send them a cow, and they're not going to sacrifice it, and in their temple." So, sure enough, the emperor sends a cow, and on the way, Kamsa makes a slit in the eye, either a slit in the lips or a poke in the eye, which invalidates it as a korban according to Torah standards, but the non-Jews wouldn't consider this a significant enough blemish, significant enough, mum, or imperfection in the animal to not sacrifice it. Anyway, so Kamsa comes with the emperor's cow, and says, and comes to the Beis HaMikdash, and brings it to them and says, "Come, the emperor sent a cow. You have to sacrifice it." The rabbis inspect the cow and they see that it has this mum, it has this blemish. It's not able to be sacrificed because you have to have a perfect animal. You can't have any blemish in the animal. The rabbis already picked up on the fact that Kamsa was trying something funny, and so first, so there were, so one rabbi suggested, look, we're not supposed to sacrifice this on the, in the Beis HaMikdash, at the temple, but because it's the emperor of Rome, and he's going to get angry at us to preserve the peace, let's sacrifice. And there was a rabbi there who was very cautious about everything, and he said, no, we can't sacrifice, we can't sacrifice a cow, a cow with a mum. We can't bring this imperfect cow onto the as a sacrifice to the temple, because if we do, people are going to say, oh, look, you could bring imperfect cows out, and sacrifice them in the temple. So then the rabbis didn't know what to do now. So they can't sacrifice it in the temple. But now now Kamsa's going to run back to the Roman emperor and badmouth the Jews to him, and it'll be a great catastrophe. So they said, okay, there's a question of sakanas nafashos, where our lives are on the line here. Let's kill Kamsa and just get rid of the problem. Or Bar Kamsa, I believe it was Gari. Let's kill Bar Kamsa. And the rabbi said, no, you can't kill Bar Kamsa, because then people will say that if you try to bring an invalid korban, an invalid sacrifice in the temple, the punishment is death. So people are going to make mistakes down the line. No, we can't. And sure enough, Bar Kamsa went back to the Roman emperor, and he, told it, look, you see, they didn't sacrifice your cow, and the Roman king sent his legions, and unfortunately, we have a day like Tisha B'Av. And the Gemara says, because this rabbi, I forget his name at the moment, because this rabbi was so cautious and so careful and so, being so OCD about not making everybody think something wrong, that's why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. And it says, what are you talking about? Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because you had an evil Roman Empire that came to fight with the Jews. And then we had this crazy guy, Bar Kamsa, that had his, had a personal vendetta that he blew out of proportion. That's why the Beis HaMikdash, we destroyed, that's why, And then with the story, there was another story of a Roman princess who was going through a town, it was Beitar, and her wagon broke down. So the Roman soldiers chopped down a tree to repair the wagon, for wood for the wagon. And that tree was designated to be a chuppah tree. In that city, they would like plant trees when somebody was born and use the wood from that tree as the chuppah. And the people in town got very upset that they chopped down this tree because it was a special tree. And, and so they went and they attacked the wagon. And then sure enough, the Romans retaliated by attacking the city. And similar story with a chicken. There was a chicken, that was again designated to be something for a wedding. The Romans used it for a meal or something or the other. Again, the Jews got angry, the Jews attacked, and then the Romans retaliated. And it says, and this is why, these three terrible calamities happened. And again, it says, you're blaming everything on, one story, you have to look at the political system, you have to look at what went on, and you have to look at all the oppression which Rome was doing in the first place. Rome didn't just take Israel willy-nilly, it conquered, there was an evil empire called Rome, and they destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. Why are you blaming us? And the answer is, when it comes to us, when it comes to our own personal lives, we have to see where was our hand in the story. What did we do to make matters worse? What were we capable of? Because then what can we change? There was a woman who went to psychology, and she had real problems in her life. And, and one time she stops her therapist, I believe it was Jordan Peterson, and she said to him, I hope all these problems are my fault. And Jordan said, why? Why do you? And she said, because if it's my fault, then I could fix them. If it's somebody else's fault, then I'm just a nebuch victim. We never ever become victims in our own lives. So, let's get back to the point at hand. In our own life, we never ever ever see ourselves as victims. And one last story to illustrate this point. When Yosef and Binyamin meet up, and they embrace and cry on each other's shoulders, and it asks the question, why did they cry? So the way it was, Yosef, his tribe, given, what was given into their life, as a portion to their tribe, his tribe, was the Aron HaKodesh. The Holy Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, was given as, his tribe was in charge of it. And as well, the Kodesh HaKodashim was given in the portion of Binyamin. Binyamin had the Kodesh HaKodashim in his plot of land, and the tribe of Yosef, or Menashe or Ephraim, I'm not sure which one, they had the Holy Ark in his, as I guess, not a gift, but as a responsibility within the jurisdiction of his tribe. And Binyamin cried on Yosef's shoulder because he saw in the future that the Ark of the Covenant was going to be taken and moved in, and stolen by the Plishtim, and it would be a great desecration for the Ark. And Yosef cried on Binyamin's shoulder because he saw that in the future the Beis HaMikdash would be destroyed, and the Beis HaMikdash sat in Binyamin's portion. Now, ask the question. They could see in the future. They had Ruach HaKodesh. They had the divine inspiration to be able to see things in the future. I'm sure Yosef saw that the Ark was going to be taken by the Plishtim, by the Philistines, and and then he saw that calamity happening. And Binyamin saw that the Beis HaMikdash, which was within his jurisdiction, also would be destroyed. And so why did they have to cry for each other? They had enough problems of their own to cry for themselves. They could cry for themselves. Why didn't they cry for each other? And the answer is because in Judaism you don't cry for yourself. Your friend, absolutely. Your friend, you show compassion and sympathy. Yourself, you have nothing to cry about. Figure out where you went wrong. Use that anger, use that frustration, use it to improve yourself, to work on yourself, to become better, a better person. Which now we take it all back to Moav. When somebody comes and causes you strife in your life, understand it's all Moav, from the father, from his environment, from where he grew up. It's not him, it's all the abuse which he suffered growing up, or she suffered growing up. When you have strife in your own life, understand it's Moav, it's from your father in heaven. Your strife is never there to break you down. It's never there to make you miserable. It's only there to help you grow. It's only there to, so you could come up, so you can learn to expand yourself, so you could learn to correct yourself, so you could learn to become a better person. And the strife which you experience within your own life, understand it's all Moav, from your father in heaven. I would like to thank Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Jacobson, YY Jacobson, for an inspiration for this year. You guys should definitely check him out. He has many shiurim on YouTube, and it's they're each one of them is a precious gem, and you'll just It expands your heart, it expands your mind, and it expands your soul. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day.